Story 1. Walking along the train tracks, it's crazy how fast millions of pounds of freight can sneak up on you. Story 2. I am an emergency room nurse. I had a teenage girl come from home economics class. She was sewing and had a pin between her lips. Who has not done that? She inhaled it and it lodged in her throat. While waiting for a bronchoscopy, she felt it dislodge and it went deep into her main bronchus. She required major surgery. A young boy was running with a toothbrush in his mouth. It became lodged very deep and almost hit a major artery. Story 3. A human bite. I worked at a kindergarten. One child could be sweet one moment and mean the next. While I was handing out the coloring pages, he walked up and bit my arm. I did not think it was serious because there was no blood, but it started swelling and turning red and the bite marks were clearly there. I went to the doctor right after my shift. He explained that a human bite is the second most dangerous bite there is. I got antibiotics, but they did not work. My arm kept swelling and turned completely dark purple over 2 days. The doctor sent me to the hospital where I received strong antibiotics. They treated the infection aggressively and I felt weak for months. If it had not started improving that night, I would have had to return and be hospitalized for an amputation. I was terrified. Luckily, the swelling subsided and the bruise stopped spreading, so I kept my arm, but it was very close. For those who asked whether I punished the child, his parents handled it. My coworker reported the incident to them. It happened near the end of his time there because the family was moving. That move had been planned before the bite. The parents were very sorry. A few days later, when I returned to work, they brought the child over because they wanted him to apologize. My arm was still swollen and purple, and he was shocked to learn he had caused it. He apologized with tears and hugged me. He promised never to bite anyone again. Apparently, he had bitten family members and other children before, but so far no one else had developed an infection. I think he meant it. We had a decent day, though I was still angry and worried that the antibiotics had failed. Looking back, he is not a bad child. More a troubled child who did not receive the right support. It was a real scare. Story 4. Avoid eating a small snack before a medical procedure that requires anesthesia. Intubation can cause vomiting and increase the risk of choking. Story 5. Riptide and 4-foot waves. My friend drowned at the beach from a sneaker wave. It was terrible. Story 6. Pool covers are like being wrapped in a bedsheet underwater. You cannot get free and you cannot scream for help. Once you are trapped, the only way to get out is to be incredibly lucky and free yourself, or to hope that someone saw or heard you fall in and reaches you in time. It is a lengthy, terrifying death that is completely avoidable. Story 7. Having a loose animal in the car is dangerous. A safety instructor once told me that doctors had to remove a dog bone from a person after the bone became lodged between the person and an airbag. Story 8. Oceanside cliff blowholes. People think they are so much fun to stand around and play with. If you fall into one of them, you are not getting out. The waves will bludgeon you against the rocks until you die, or you are lucky enough to drown first. Story 9. Kids picking flowers in the park. I am a conservation technician for a county park system. At least once a year, I must stop parents whose children are picking flowers from the trail because I often see poison hemlock, one of the deadliest plants if ingested even in tiny amounts, or wild parsnip, which can cause serious, permanent scarring, burns and boils if the sap gets onto the skin and is then exposed to sunlight. Do not let your children pick or eat anything you are not 100% sure about. Story 10. There is a Peppa Pig episode about spiders that teaches children in the United Kingdom that spiders are nice and friendly. That episode is banned in Australia. My answer is Peppa Pig episodes. Story 11. Mandolin slicer. Use the handguard or you could lose a thumb. Story 12. Confined spaces, whether above ground or below the surface, are hazardous. If you do urban exploration, caving, or similar activities, carry a 4-gas detector. Clip it to your chest or belt and set the alarm to maximum sensitivity. If it alarms, leave immediately or you may be in mortal danger. Story 13. Eating raw or undercooked kidney beans can make you very sick or even be fatal. It only takes 3 undercooked kidney beans to ruin your day. Story 14. Walking off the boardwalks at Yellowstone is dangerous. There are several signs warning that, even though the ground may look normal in those areas, it can be very thin. I have seen people do it anyway. Just because something looks safe does not mean it is safe. Story 15. Weirdly specific. Hydraulic fluid leaking from a small crack in a pressurized manifold. It does not shoot out like a gas but forms droplets. If you press your thumb over the leak, the fluid can be injected into your bloodstream. Story 16. Not checking or changing the tires on your car is dangerous. Someone back me up on this. You cannot keep driving on the same tires forever. Eventually, you may end up spinning out on a wet interstate highway because the rear tires lose traction. Story 17. Cat scratch fever. Yeah, the song is pretty cool, but that's about it. A stray cat scratched my dad once and seriously injured him. Story 18. As a maintenance worker who found a man dead today from huffing an air duster. Don't do it, kids. Edit. I went to bed and this blew up a bit. It is messed up because he was only 1 year younger than me and a cool person. I did not expect this to happen to him, but it happened because of decisions he made. For those concerned about my mental health, I appreciate the concern. Thank you. I'm okay. This is always a risk in my work, where about 60 people of various ages and temperaments live in one place, and you never know if one day an 83-year-old person will pass away, and you will open the unit and find that he has been there untouched for 2 weeks, or if you will open a place for a concerned partner and find someone clutching a can of duster. I let concerned parties handle their own matters and go about my work. That's the best I can do. For those saying it is obviously dangerous, I agree, but many people do not realize how dangerous it is. My friends used to huff duster when we were out of cannabis as teenagers, and it always scared me, but they would say things like it is not like it is heroin to minimize concern. They were lucky they were not this person. He also had no idea he was going to take that huff and that it would be the last thing for him until his partner found him 18 hours later. Story 19. Garage door springs are under a great deal of tension. Never repair a garage door yourself unless you know exactly what you are doing. The stored energy in the springs is enough to break bones and sever limbs. Story 20. Regarding garage door springs, I do a lot of things myself, but after reading about them, I will let professionals handle the repairs. Story 21. Over-the-counter medicines may be available without a prescription, but that does not mean they are safe in all cases or in high doses. Story 22. Lint. Too much lint in a dryer can cause a fire. Clean the lint filter regularly. Story 23. Pushing someone's face into a cake as a joke. Some cakes have little wooden spikes inside to support the cake. I saw a post where a girl's face was gored by one of these. Story 24. Small cuts from marine activities. If you were diving or snorkeling at a coral reef and lightly scraped yourself on coral, disinfect the wound thoroughly, no matter how mild it looks. Bacteria on coral can cause severe infections. Small cuts on your hands when handling materials like diatomaceous earth or sea sponges can allow tiny spines or particles to enter the bloodstream and damage blood vessels. Anecdotally, my professor said a student was hospitalized and died from massive internal bleeding after handling diatomaceous earth repeatedly. Story 25. Putting your feet on the dashboard while riding as a passenger in a moving car is dangerous. You do not want to see what happens to someone in that position in an unexpected head-on collision. Story 26. This thread is making me not want to leave the house ever again. Story 27. Cat bites can puncture deeply and introduce bacteria into tissue, causing serious infections. A bite that does not bleed much may still be dangerous because the wound is not draining properly. If you are bitten seriously, go to urgent care so the wound can be cleaned and treated. Story 28. The cinnamon challenge was all the rage a few years back. When inhaled, it can cause severe burns to the nasal passages and airways. Story 29. Climbing a ladder does not have to be a big ladder. A two-step ladder can be incredibly dangerous. One ill-placed step can change your entire life. Story 30. Cows seem harmless, but they are not to be underestimated. I was attacked by a mother cow for getting too close to her calf. I was lucky the horns were round. Otherwise, I might have lost a kidney. The horn struck my kidney but did not cause damage. Still hurt a lot afterward. Story 31. Ladders. Those things will fuck you up if you do not use them properly. Story 32. Texting while driving is dangerous. You might think this is obvious, but I see many people doing it every day. It is not cool and definitely not safe. Story 33. Water in general and fast-moving water in particular is dangerous. 2 or 3 inches of moving water is enough to sweep you off your feet. 12 inches of water can lift and sweep away a car. Water is heavy and can seriously harm you if you do not respect it. Story 34. Spillways. As an engineer, I have seen and understand that they can kill you. When the downstream end or lower half of a spillway is submerged and a pool forms at the bottom, a sideways whirlpool can be created. Not the whirlpool you're thinking of at a public pool. It is similar but turned on its side. The whirlpool it creates can prevent you from swimming away and can produce currents or waves that push you down. Water flows down the spillway and then rushes back up. The incoming flow pushes it back down, forming a recirculating current so strong you may not be able to escape. Children often see spillways as water slides with pools at the bottom, and people in canoes may treat them as small waterfalls. These hidden whirlpools can be fatal. People who go over spillways can become trapped and drown. Story 35. Black foods that contain charcoal can interact with many medications, interfere with nutrient absorption, and upset the digestive tract. Story 36. For children, someone online offering a sympathetic ear for their problems can be a warning sign. Responsible adults will try to put you in touch with real-life help, not encourage a pattern of reliance and inappropriate intimacy. Be especially cautious if someone tells you you are really mature for your age. Online predators operate like real-life hunters. Their first goal is to separate you from your support network. Story 37. A gun that appears unloaded, or is thought to be unloaded, can still be dangerous. That is why gun instructors always tell you to treat every firearm as if it were loaded. Story 38. Silicon chips are very safe in finished product form, but the chemicals used in production are dangerous. One component used in production is pure hydrogen. It is the safest. Another is trichlorosilane. Its autoignition temperature is approximately 40 degrees Fahrenheit. It is combustible on contact with moisture, including humidity. When it mixes with water and does not explode, its temperature skyrockets and the byproduct is hydrochloric acid. I learned this while working in a polysilicon factory when they dumped it on my crew from an empty vessel. Story 39. Letting water from a freshwater source go up your nose is usually fine, but rarely you can get a brain-eating amoeba with a 99.9% fatality rate. This occurs in the United States as well. Story 40. Plutonium. If no one told you what it was, you would think it was just a random piece of metal. Story 41. After turning off my alarm, I tell myself just to close my eyes for a few more minutes. I have to either get up or hit the snooze button. Otherwise, I will end up asleep for hours, laughing out loud. Story 42. Changing lanes without leaving a proper gap, checking your blind spot, and signaling your intention is dangerous. Even if you are faster than the vehicle you are passing, unexpected hazards like an animal can cause a severe collision. When passing, wait to move back into the other lane until you can see the other vehicle's headlights fully in your rearview mirror and you have visually cleared your blind spot. It is especially dangerous when passing a semi-trailer truck. Your vehicle can be destroyed on impact. Always visually check your blind spot. Blind spot sensors do not replace a visual check. Make sure no one has moved into your blind spot before changing lanes. Use your turn signal. Other drivers cannot read your mind. Signal your intent and follow through. Story 43. Do not follow too closely in your car. Not just tailgating, but even following as little as 50 feet behind in fast traffic can be dangerous. Next time you are in your car, wait for the car in front of you to pass a clear marker such as an exit sign or a bridge. Then count the seconds until you reach that marker. This is the amount of time you have to react and potentially save your own life in an emergency. I always aim for 3 seconds, which is about 20 car lengths at 70 miles per hour. People who follow a 3-car length rule have about 0 for seconds to react in the same situation, and I am not that quick under pressure. Story 44. Grapefruit juice is usually safe by itself, but many people do not realize that grapefruit juice interacts with many different drugs, both prescription and recreational, and can be potentially dangerous when combined. See the Food and Drug Administration page on interactions between grapefruit and several medications. Some readers have noted that cannabidiol may have similar interactions. I do not know whether that is accurate. If you use cannabidiol and are concerned about interactions with medications or other substances, consult a qualified medical professional. Related articles to consult include Harvard Health, cannabidiol and other medications. Proceed with caution and Forbes, what grapefruit and cannabidiol have in common when it comes to drug interactions. Story 45. A child alone may not seem like much, but in groups they can cause widespread havoc. Story 46. Too much instant, dopamine-driven pleasure is harmful. When you rely on it, it's not fun because eventually those highs wear off and you're left with an even worse depression or negative state of mind. Story 47. They are cute, palm-sized octopuses with small blue rings. Many people say octopi is incorrect. It is listed in the Cambridge Dictionary as a plural form, and the word ain't is listed as well. Story 48. All the comments here have made me not want to touch myself or others, or to leave the house. Story 49. Caterpillars. Some of those fuzzy bastards can cause serious damage. Story 50. Taking pictures of bears may seem harmless to people in Yellowstone, but bears are faster than many expect, especially uphill. If you are ever near a bear and want a picture, stay in your car. Edit. Wow. I did not expect 400 upvotes. To elaborate, I saw this a lot when I was there with my dad. He was told to piss off when he warned people that bears are faster uphill. I am pretty sure some people we drove past later died, but I cannot remember for certain. Other things I saw there included people obsessed with pictures, an Asian tourist who was so scared of my brother's service dog that he jumped over the fence on the boardwalk and almost fell into a sulfur pit, many tourists losing their hats at one spot near the Prismatic Spring, and a man who was injured in the visitor center right before Old Faithful erupted. While my dad and I were stopping the bleeding, I should note that I am trained in first aid and my dad had a medic bag. The injured man was yelling for people to get off him so he could see Old Faithful. When the park paramedics arrived, one asked my dad how bad the injury was. My dad said the wound was down to the bone. The paramedic then, without gloves, put his finger in the wound and confirmed it. The man's wife was in shock. My mother, who is a nurse, helped make sure the wife did not have problems but could not do more without risking her license. I was furious and nearly punched that paramedic. Too long. Didn't read it. Story 51. I read a study recently about a rare disorder called Eagle syndrome. A small bone at the base of the skull can grow too long. Last year, there were about 30 cases in the United States in which someone was talking on the phone, dancing, or simply looking up and pointing, and that bone was long enough to sever their internal carotid artery. It is strange to think a person's body could effectively try to end their life for merely looking up. Story 52. Reddit. I was a normal, well-adjusted person until I tried it. Now look at me. Story 53. Being conflict avoidant can feel like keeping the peace, but when you avoid healthy conflict, boundaries are violated, you get burned out, and you feel unheard or taken advantage of. On a larger level, harmful people can gain and retain positions of power and oppress others when people stay silent rather than challenge the status quo for the sake of pseudo-unity. Story 54. Starting a car in a closed garage. Story 55. Amateur mental health advice. Everyone is an armchair psychologist these days, and that creates problems. Diagnosing and treating mental illness is incredibly complex. There is a reason we require years of study before we call someone an expert. If a friend comes to you complaining about a serious mental health condition such as depression, suicidal thoughts, or anxiety, your first advice should always be, see an expert. It is easy to give negligent advice that makes the problem worse. Instead, be a listener. You cannot fix your friend's mental health issue with casual advice. Offering a sympathetic ear and encouraging professional help is far more helpful. Story 56. Answering a seemingly innocent text that says, "Just wanted to see how you are doing." from someone who is bad for your mental health. Story 57. Stonefish. A camouflaged fish with very painful venom. Cone snail. An orange and white, cone-shaped shell that often looks attractive and enticing until you pick it up. Update: wow, this blew up in only a couple of hours. Thanks for all the likes. I have found your stories very interesting. You can learn about other deadly creatures like these on Nature's Deadliest from National Geographic. Thanks also for the award. Story 58. Jumping across the Bolton Strid. A waterway that appears to be a stream but is actually a sort of sideways river with an extremely strong current. Story 59. Paracetamol and ibuprofen. They are very common, inexpensive, and easy to obtain pain relievers, but they can be very dangerous. I work in healthcare and have seen people who attempted suicide with paracetamol. They often take 30 to 5,500 milligram tablets. This is usually a potentially fatal dose depending on body weight because it can cause liver failure. I have also seen people with a simple toothache who take 3 to 6 times that amount because they cannot cope with the pain. They may not realize they are severely damaging their liver. Recently, a 23-year-old with a wisdom tooth abscess was taking 2 500 milligram paracetamol tablets and 2 200 milligram ibuprofen tablets every 15 minutes because the pain was so severe. When told they must go to the emergency department immediately, the usual response is, "Why? It's only paracetamol and ibuprofen. They would not sell them if they were harmful." Story 60. Microtransactions in video games can act as a gateway to gambling through predatory methods. Story 61. Turbulence. If proper precautions are taken, it is usually not dangerous, but under certain circumstances it can be. 1. Keep your seatbelt on at all times when you are seated, even if the seatbelt sign is off. Flight crews do not recommend this to inconvenience you. Clear air turbulence can occur without warning, and people have been seriously injured by being thrown from their seats and hitting overhead bins, seats, or other passengers. 2. Do not hold infants on your lap. The Federal Aviation Administration permits lap infants in some cases, but infants are safest in an appropriate child safety seat approved for air travel. When the plane hits a bump, the holder's arms may loosen and a child whose skull has not fully fused may be thrown. In baby wearing, any impact to the wearer also affects the child, and the limited space between rows increases the chance of injury. It may seem unreasonable to purchase a separate seat for a small child, and although airlines can be expensive, this is not a place to economize. I know several airline pilots and crew members who have witnessed this firsthand. Story 62. Teens using card pages reveal private information about themselves. By sharing details about their problems and mental health, they risk being stalked, bullied, and exploited. Story 63. Feeding wildlife may seem harmless, but it is likely to harm the animal and can lead to its death. Story 64. Hippos look goofy, cute, and friendly, but they are among the most dangerous animals you could ever encounter. Even Steve Irwin was afraid of them and would not go near them. Story 65. Driving. Jump into a heavy box made of metal, plastic, and glass on wheels. Point that box in the same direction as others and accelerate. Hope that all the other human-controlled boxes are operated by competent humans who are paying attention to the road, the conditions, and the other boxes moving around them. Do this every day. It astounds me that there are so few deaths per day involving vehicles. Story 66. Koalas, like other animals in Australia, will kill you if they get the chance. They eat only 2 things: eucalyptus and human flesh. Story 67. I watched World Wrestling Entertainment as a kid and practiced moves on the neighbor's child. Do you smell what The Rock is cooking? Ow! I have a broken arm. Story 68. Do not go out in the sun without sunscreen. I don't give a damn if it's cold, if you have dark skin, if you want a tan, or if you can't be bothered to put it on. If you're going out in the sun, put on sunscreen, complain about it if you must, and deal with it. Your dermatologist will thank you. If you find sunscreen uncomfortable, try Korean and Japanese sunscreen brands. I have severe sensory issues, and the formulations from there seem much nicer. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.